me. Here.
Andrew Rogers is building a chain of massive stone sculptures around the world. Andrew has a vision to create one of the largest contemporary land art projects on Earth. Using the elements of the Earth to reach back into memory, this Rhythms of Life project will involve over 5,000 people on 6 continents.
So far, we've worked in Israel, Chile, Bolivia, Sri Lanka, Iceland, and Australia.
The next challenge is India. Here on a hill in Rajasthan, international sculptor Andrew Rogers is looking for a location.
So this is a great site because it's elevated.
He and his team are building the next 2 giant rock sculptures in his worldwide Rhythms of Life series. Located in northwestern India, the capital of Rajasthan is Jaipur, known as the Pink City, the city built by Maharajas in the desert.
India is always exotic for me. Colour and energy are exciting. It's full of history, but it's also full of contradictions. Ancient, modern, fast and slow.
Before he can start building, Andrew needs to travel to the nearby village of Jobner to meet the locals and choose sites. Above Jobner is a steep hill topped by ancient forts that once belonged to the Maharajas. This is where Andrew will build his massive sculptures.
The mountains we're on, probably one of the oldest sets of mountains in the world. They used to be as high as the Himalayas, or the Himalayas, and over time they've been weathered down. And this is a very beautiful area looking over a very densely populated agricultural plain. And up above us you can see a wonderful fort that's about 400 years old. And below us you can see a temple that's been abandoned because the people had a fight with the gods. So it's got lots of interest.
And there's a rediscovery of an artist who comes all this distance and wants to make something that can be left for the town or the village. It will be something really special. I'm sure as the word of mouth will continue and people will know that somebody dared to build here.
I've been creating earth art for some years now. My collections of geoglyphs, they're contemporary in form and they're of the moment, although they reach back in history. They're giant metaphors for history and the past, because I always say without memory, we are nothing.
Like most villages in India, Jobner is a village with a vibrant community life. It's in a beautiful area that's dominated by the hill. But they've never had someone build large contemporary sculptures out of rock there before. Before he can start building, Andrew needs to go over the detailed plans with the village elders. It's a very new idea for the village, and they want to understand exactly what will be involved.
Pleased to meet you. You know I come from Australia. So you know Australia is very good at cricket. Yes? But we also have very good sculptors.
Andrew has worked with many communities around the world, consulting with them and valuing their input. He shows them some examples from projects in other countries.
This is in Sri Lanka. This is the sign of the Sinhalese people. It's a line. Yes?
मतलब अच्छा है इसमें अच्छा हो जाएगा आराम से बढ़िया काम बन जाएगा बिल्कुल संभव है ये काम होना ये संभव नहीं है
The next day, Andrew looks for a site for his first sculpture called Ratio. Up above the village is a small local temple, and on the way to the temple is a fort, which catches Andrew's eye.
What about this area on top of the hill there? See? This is absolutely spectacular. And I think here is a wonderful site for ratio.
The next day, work on ratio begins, and the local women start carrying up the cement and sand they'll need for the sculpture, using the pathway to the temple as the best point of access. Everything they need must be carried up by hand. Andrew has only 1 week to build ratio before he has to start his much bigger work, the rhythms of life. The sculpture ratio will be a series of stone steps, and their proportions will represent the Fibonacci sequence of numbers.
1, 2, 3, 5 and 8. The steps will start here at 0, 0 and they'll rise up to 8 metres.
Andrew has built ratio before in Sri Lanka. Fibonacci sequences demonstrate many shapes in nature, such as the spiral of a shell or the uncurling of a fern.
So all of this here, it's very appropriate because you'll see that temple's got a wonderful platform rising up to it. It's ascending to the temple, and this is also, it's about going up, and it's a concept of infinity.
The Hindu temple above the fort is called Jwala Mata Kamandir, or the Temple of the Goddess of Fire. Wedding parties come here to make sure that they'll have plenty of children, and many families make pilgrimages to pray for fertility. Once a year, thousands gather here for the festival of Navratri, which honours Jwala, or the Lady of Fire, who is one of the 9 forms of the Mother Goddess. Andrew is using the same pink sandstone that was used to build the Maharaja's palaces in Jaipur.
And they carry it a short distance and transfer it to somebody else so that they're not straining too much.
Architects Golan and Tidda have worked on many of Andrew's sculptures before and helped Andrew build ratio in Sri Lanka. They can give some much-needed help with managing the project.
We have to make sure none of the stones.
Engineer Nakvi is the man in charge of construction.
But on this height, it's very difficult here. How to maintain this with this labor? I want just cladding without mortar initially. On 18, I want just house. And now here, what I'm doing is, initially I put the mortar over here. After that, I chipping it. So it's
And then hammering.
then hammering.
This is the way.
This form ratio is all about precision, and you can see here we've really got skilled craftsmen. You can see here each stone is being laid with a plumb line, so everything's very precise. They're shaping the rocks. We're building so there's no mortar seen on the outside of the form.
The techniques that the stonemasons are using are ancient, and the area is full of examples of old stonemasonry. Built by warrior Rajput princes during the 1700s, the many forts on the hills were named after the number of villages they used to command. The small garrison fort below the site is called Chagongakila, which means 4 villages. The big fort above is called 12 villages. These rival princes ruled from the royal city of Jaipur, and their fairy tale pink palaces are a reminder that Rajasthan was once known as the land of the kings. While Andrew's getting inspiration from the nearby forts, the ratio site is having communication problems.
It's a base. It's a base.
This is method.
You want to cladding this also?
Yes.
This is in mortar. topmost stone is only cladding. But
Cladding should be cladded with cement. If there's no bonding material, look.
because Andrew told me that at least 3 inches, you're free from water, at least 3 inches.
But you use the cement.
But in spite of problems with the base, ratio was starting to take shape. And once Andrew gets back on site, it doesn't take long to finish.
It's the beginning of a process. It's the beginning of a journey that I always enjoy. And just watching the work create the form and watching the form grow over a period of time is always quite exciting. For me, this is a continuation of what was done in the past, where Indigenous cultures always related themselves and their environments and the landscapes. And this, to me, is what this form of contemporary art is all about.
Andrew's next challenge is to find the best site for Rhythms of Life, a much bigger and more difficult sculpture. Andrew needs a site that's high up, yet clearly visible from down below.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For welcoming us to your village.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
We would like to build here.
Yes.
But this is a very steep site, and Umji, the sarpanch or head man, is worried.
He's saying the labor over here, the workers are not used to going up and doing such kind of work.
What if they back out? He says, don't make it that difficult that they do not want to come anymore.
We give them a lot of rest, so it's not a
कह
problem.
रहा बहुत आराम करा दे
आराम के लिए नहीं बोल रहे सर, वो मतलब कर ही नहीं सकते हैं काम
They are
ऐसे।
saying that he's not seeking the rest.
Not your मतलब
but this is not
possible.
possible for them because they don't work in that kind of a situation.
ये बता
That's
रहा
what he's saying.
Very ambitious project. Very ambitious project.
Even though the steepness of the site is daunting, the next day more than 500 people turn up for work. And most of them are local women.
Namaste.
Andrew's keen to get to work, but first there must be a blessing of the site.
It is a very special ceremony. It's a ritual for any construction, any building that you worship the land and you get it blessed from all planets. It's a Vedic ritual, ancient ritual, and so we wanted it to be that way only, so that Andrew's sculpture, it stands here forever and ever.
5 rocks are blessed with milk curds, vermilion, and water from the Ganges River.
All my sites are about the rhythms of life, an optimistic symbol of life and regeneration. Rocks for me are about the present focus of our being. They invoke the pristine environment which we need to care about and think about for future generations. Rocks bring me together with earth and nature. Very good.
The women will supply the rocks that the stonemasons will use. While the women collect rocks from nearby, the surveyors start at the baseline of the sculpture and mark out the shape on the hillside. From the key points on Andrew's plan, the surveyors lay out pegs which will form lines that the rock walls will follow.
Beginnings are always the most difficult part.
I want you all to come with me.
6 translators help the communications.
I want this man to pick 6 stonemasons
Okay.
and take half the women and go with those guys up there.
अब आप 6 कारीगर अपने साथ
One of the difficulties on these sites is always with communications. It's always hard to communicate to them in a foreign language.
Andrew's also besieged by other willing workers.
These are all kids that want to get paid and they're too young to work. So their mothers have said they're 18 and they're obviously 12, 13 and 15. So I'm told them they're not allowed to work in the lines. They're my assistants, so they're wandering around with me and they'll get paid.
Just about everyone from the whole village has come up to see what Andrew is doing. It's a big operation. The hundreds of workers here all need food and water, and it all has to be carried up the hill. There's even a doctor permanently on site.
Okay?
Most of the workers come from the village of Jobner or from nearby farms. So they're happy to take extra work when the crop cycle allows them to do so. Walking the streets is like stepping back in time, and the pace of life here still moves with the slowness of ancient rhythms. The next day, Andrew wants to get going.
Ashok's the guy in charge. Do we know where Ashok is?
He's been promised additional workers, but chaos prevails.
He's sending the masons first to the top.
Okay, but already 10 o'clock, they should be up there, 9 o'clock. Okay,
From tomorrow he'll take care.
Everyone must be on the mountain by 9 o'clock.
It's a long, steep climb to the top. It takes about 20 minutes every day.
We build 1 metre wide.
Today, the stonemasons can start building the walls.
Only big stones on the ground. And we build 2 layers. This is really the first day of proper construction because yesterday was a sacred day and the discipline is to try and get them to only use large stones for the foundations.
The highest wall of the sculpture will be across the baseline.
We might build it to 2.5 metres, 3 metres. So it has to be absolutely stable and safe. We don't want a big wall collapsing on people.
We're working with big stones on slopes. This is obviously not another day at the office.
There always seems to be a discrepancy about the count. The architects and myself can never get the same numbers as the people in charge here tell us that are there.
624, 625, 375 ladies and 280 men.
Okay, thank you very much.
Huge numbers of people, impossibly steep slopes, and extreme heat make the job very hard. Andrew's worried that work is progressing far too slowly.
Too small, too small.
He has only 5 days to finish, and it's not looking good. The next day, things get even worse.
What are these guys having a holiday for over here? What are these people doing here, let's ask?
We have apparently a lot of magicians around, and the minute we turn around, they disappear. Approximately 9 times already by now, I've assigned people to work with the mason builders, and each and every time, poof, they just disappeared.
Not only are there young men who don't want to work, but a lot of extra men have turned up who do want to work. It becomes impossible to tell who's on the payroll and who isn't. Some people say the women shouldn't be working, and fights break out over jobs. It's starting to look like they'll never finish. Andrew hopes he can get help from Ganesh, the elephant god, who has the power to remove life's obstacles.
Wednesday is considered very auspicious.
Tripti assures Andrew that Wednesday is a very auspicious day and that Ganesh can remove the problems from Andrew's project. But Andrew still has grave doubts. The next morning, Ganesh sends help in the form of the highly respected Sarpanch, who comes up to see if he can sort out the problems.
अभी बहुत नाखुश हो रहा है जिस तरह लोग बाग काम कर रहे हैं।
Look at these men still sitting here, doing nothing.
Sarpanch has to sort out who really wants to work and who has no intention of working. He listens patiently to both sides, then gets the troublemakers to leave. Those young men who say they want to work are given one last chance.
All of you, you work today with Buggy. Okay? Buggy will tell you the stones he wants and you will bring it to him.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell him that's why I need him here. He's the boss.
Yes.
All right? Tell him we're a good team.
To whip the labour force into shape for one last effort, Sarpanch also brings in 4 new managers. Making art on this scale has been extremely difficult, but at least now Andrew can see an end in sight.
It's always a challenge during this process to keep the creative process flowing. It's always an exercise in persistence and fortitude. Now, as we're getting to the end of the process, I can see the moment coming when finally the work will be finished and people can look at it and contemplate their heritage.
One final dance to celebrate, and the 1,000 workers descend from the mountain for the last time.
Most important people here are all of the people I see sitting in front of me that helped build the geoglyph on the mountain up behind us. So what I would like to do first is to clap all of you and say thank you all for your help. And everybody should think about what's important for them when they look at all the stones they help put in a pattern on the mountain. me, it is about taking the basic components of the earth, the rocks, and reformatting them. They undulate, they follow the rhythms. I think it is important that we are always in touch with the earth.